Okay, so we're going to look at the algebra functions first. Okay, this should be pretty straightforward, pretty simple. The biggest thing is knowing the notation. So here, when this says f plus g of x, well, what that means is the function f of x plus the function g of x. Okay, so just as a quick reminder, remember if I say f of x, that means f of x. This x right here, it's not multiplication, it's just saying that that is our variable. That is a name for the whole thing, is f of x. Okay, so here, when it says f plus g of x, they're just telling you here that x is going to be the variable, okay, so this is not multiplication either. It means f of x plus g of x. Same thing with the difference, okay, that's subtraction, so f minus g of x just means the f of x function minus the g of x function. Okay, same thing with multiplication and division. Here, when they do division, g of x is not allowed to equal 0. That's what we call the domain of this thing. Okay, you have to exclude the fact that the bottom part can't be equal to 0. So, when I take a look at these, if I'm looking here, if f of x is equal to x minus 1, and g of x is equal to 2x minus 3, find f plus g of x. So what that means is f of x plus g of x. Now don't make this any more difficult than it needs to be. This literally means f of x here is x minus 1. Okay, and g of x is 2x minus 3. They just want us to add those two things together. Okay, so once I'm here, we're away from the notation. Now this is just basic combining like terms. So x plus 2x is 3x, and negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. So f plus g of x is equal to 3x minus 4. It's just a matter of adding those two functions together. That's what this means. Here it means we must subtract the two functions. Okay, but when we subtract them, the big thing here is that you have to make sure you distribute the negative to the g. That's going to be the most important part of subtraction. That's the part that people mess up on the most. Okay, so this means f of x minus g of x. We're still working with the exact same two functions. So f of x is still x minus 1. G of x is still 2x minus 3. Only here, instead of adding them, they want us to subtract, and not just the 2x, but this whole thing. So I have to use my parentheses. If I just put minus, then I'm only going to subtract that 2x. But they wanted me to subtract all of g of x. Well, g of x is 2x minus 3. So we're going to subtract these two functions, which means I distribute that negative. So I get x minus 1 minus 2x plus 3, and then combine like terms. So x minus 2x is negative x, and negative 1 plus 3 is positive 2. So we get negative x plus 2, and that would be my final answer there. Now when you're looking at multiplication, same sort of idea applies. F times g of x, which means f of x times g of x. Okay, please note that this is just a dot. Later on we'll look at something called composites, and it'll be a circle there. It'll look like it says fog, which is something different than the dot. The dot means multiply. So f of x times g of x, again, f of x is still x minus 1. G of x is still 2x minus 3, only now we're going to multiply. Okay, we'll go back to your basic multiplying rules. If I want to multiply x minus 1 by 2x minus 3, I FOIL. Okay, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to FOIL. So x times 2x is 2x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. And negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. Combine all of your like terms. 2x squared minus 5xn plus 3. Final answer. Okay, so f times g of x would be this, 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. Now division, the same sort of idea here. So f divided by g of x. So f is still x minus 1. G is still 2x minus 3. Okay, you'll look, can I reduce anything? Can I cancel anything out? I can't. Remember from the rational units that if I have a plus or a minus in between them, then they're bound, which means I'm not allowed to cancel this whole thing unless I have another x minus 1, and I don't. So here, this is going to be my answer, and the domain of this, okay, the only thing x is not allowed to be is if I were to set this equal to 0, 2x minus 3 equals 0, 2x is equal to 3, so x would equal 3 halves. So that means x is not allowed to be 3 halves would be the domain of this thing. X not equal to 3 halves is my domain. Okay? So that's super important that you recognize what x is not allowed to be. Because remember, you can't divide by 0 ever. It's like the biggest math no-no ever. But that right there is your answer. X minus 1 over 2x minus 3. Okay, so looking at another one, this one's just got bigger polynomials. Okay, more terms in there, but the same idea. So when I talk about f plus g, that means they want me to add f of x to g of x. Okay, so my f of x is x squared plus 3x plus 2. And we're going to add to that x squared minus 4x plus 3. Notice I didn't change any signs in that second one. I'm simply going to add the two things together. Really, I'm just combining like terms. Let's see if I can zoom in a little so we can get a little better picture here. Alright, hopefully you can see that a little bit better. So, here, x squared and x squared, that makes 2x squareds. Remember, when you're adding, you keep the variables the same, keep the exponents the same, you just add the number in front. So that gives me 2x squareds. Positive 3x and negative 4x is negative 1x, and positive 2 and positive 3 is positive 5. Okay, combining like terms, that's all you're looking at. Here, remember again, subtraction, the most important thing is to distribute that negative. So when we do f of x minus g of x, we've got x squared plus 3x plus 2 minus, make sure you use that parentheses, minus the g of x here, x squared minus 4x plus 3. So when I distribute that negative, that's just going to change all those signs in there. So we get x squared plus 3x plus 2 minus x squared plus 4x and minus 3. That is super important. That negative goes to all three. It's just going to change all three signs. From there, combine your like terms. So x squared, negative x squared, those go. 3x plus 4x is 7x. And 2 minus 3 is negative 1. So 7x minus 1. Alright, so now multiplying. Now multiplying on this one's going to be a little bit more tricky just for the simple fact that there's more to it. Okay, there's two different ways you can go about it. I'll show you both. Okay, one is just to do it, I'm going to do it vertically here. X squared plus 3x plus 2. X squared minus 4x plus 3. We actually did this during, I believe, first semester. Okay, where we learned how to multiply these things. The most important is that all three of these must multiply by all three of these. It's kind of like foiling, only a lot bigger. So x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. Multiplying bases, you add exponents. X squared times negative 4x is negative 4x cubed. X squared times 3 is positive 3x squared. Now, move on to the next number. So 3x times all three. Now I'm going to go vertically, which means I'm going to line them up underneath with their common terms. So when I do 3x times x squared, that gives me 3x cubed. So I'm going to line that underneath my other x cubed. So 3x times negative 4x is negative 12x squared. And 3x times 3 is positive 9x. Do that for the very last term, so I've got to multiply 2 by each one of those. So 2 times x squared is positive 2x squared. 2 times negative 4x is negative 8x. And 2 times 3 is positive 6. From there, now we can line up vertically and combine our like terms. I've got 1x to the 4th. I've got negative 4x cubed plus 3x cubed is negative x cubed. 3x squared minus 12x squared plus 2x squared is negative 7x squared. Positive 9 and negative 8 makes positive 1x, and then positive 6. So that would be my final answer. X to the 4th minus x cubed minus 7x squared plus x plus 6. Okay, so here we go again. F divided by g. So F is x squared plus 3x plus 2. And g of x is x squared minus 4x plus 3. Now, order matters. F is on top here, which means my f of x has to be on top here. So please keep those straight. Now, if I want to reduce them, if you go back to our rationals unit, we did a whole lot of this. If I want to reduce, I have to target product, target sum. For each one of them, I need to factor the top and the bottom. Okay? You're only going to have to factor on the division ones to see if stuff cancels. So target product here is 2. Target sum is 3. So my two numbers that multiply to 2 but add to 3 would be 2 and 1. 2 and 1. So I get x plus 2 and x plus 1. Keep in mind that I am allowed to do the shortcut because there's no number in front of x squared, it's just a 1. So I can shortcut this and do x plus 2, x plus 1. Do the same thing for the bottom. Target product is 3. Target sum is negative 4. The two numbers that multiply to 3 but add to negative 4 would be negative 3 and negative 1. Okay, multiply to positive 3, add to negative 4. So on bottom here, I've got x minus 3, x minus 1. That's my new denominator. So from here, you have to look, do I have anything that cancels? I don't. These right here are both 1s, but they're not the same. This is a positive 1, this is a negative 1. That doesn't work. So this is my answer. And if you talk about the domain, x is not allowed to be 3, and x is not allowed to be 1. Both of those would give me zeros in my denominator. So no 3 and no 1. So if you're talking about domain, that's what we're talking about. Now this last little bit is you're on your own. I would suggest that you hit the pause button, see if you can get the correct answer, come back, check it with mine. I'm going to keep on going here. So 3x plus 2 plus x plus 4. Okay, that would be f of x plus g of x. Just adding those two pieces together, combine like terms, and I get 4x plus 6. Here, the biggest part is to make sure I distribute that negative. So 3x plus 2 minus x plus 4. I'm subtracting that whole thing, not just the x, but the whole thing. So I get 3x plus 2 minus x minus 4. Okay, now combine like terms. 3x minus x is 2x. And 2 minus 4 is negative 2. So 2x minus 2, that's my answer there. 4x plus 6 was my answer over here. So 2x minus 2 here. Times 3x plus 2 times x plus 4. Okay, FOIL. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 4 is positive 12x. 2 times x is positive 2x. And 2 times 4 is positive 8. Combine like terms. 3x squared plus 14x plus 8 should have been my answer there, and I hope it was. And then last one, f divided by g, we get the 3x plus 2 divided by the x plus 4. Okay, nothing cancels. You can't cancel 2 and 4 here. Because remember, it's a plus in between it. Those things are bound. I can only reduce 3x plus 2 with another 3x plus 2. Same thing with the x plus 4. I can't just can't just reduce the 2 and the 4. So that's just my answer. 3x plus 2 over x plus 4. Talking about domain, x is not allowed to be 4, or negative 4, sorry. Okay, because if I plug a negative in there, negative 4 plus 4 would give me 0, and that's not allowed. Big math, no, dividing by 0. Okay, so negative 4. And that's it for algebra of functions. Hopefully this wasn't too bad. Hopefully you should be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide pretty simply, pretty easily. That was what I was trying to say. And we'll look at composition starting on Tuesday. We'll look at compositions. That's a little more complicated, but nothing you can't handle. Okay, good luck.